Hi guys, welcome to the channel. This is What If Goku Was in Fairy Tale. Before we start, remember to like and subscribe to help the channel. Also check the description for the creator of the fanfic. Chapter 25. The star that fell from heaven. Remind me what we're doing again, Lou. Kana laughed, drinking from a hip flask while she sauntered alongside her summoner friend. I told you. Lucy groaned. We're looking for Plue. You know, my spirit. And Plue is the crab guy, right? No, he's the dog. Dog. Kana's face was the perfect picture of incomprehension. You know, white, cute, has an orange nose. That thing's supposed to be a dog. I thought it was a snowman. That's fair, actually. But still, he's missing and you agreed to help me look for him. Lucy huffed. That's another thing though. How the hell do you lose one of your spirits? Aren't they linked to you when you make a contact with them? Can't you just dismiss them and resummon them where you are or something? Normally I would be able to, yes. But I've tried and this time it isn't working. Have you considered keeping him on a leash? Kana. Lucy gave the card mage a distinctly unimpressed look. We are talking about a celestial being, one that was ancient long before humans ever entered the picture. You can't just put him on a leash. It's disrespectful. We're still talking about the tiny bipedal dog with a carrot for a nose, right? Plue is not a pet, he is a friend and a partner. Would you put a leash on your friends? You got to admit, Natsu could probably use one. How about any of your friends who wouldn't set a town on fire just because someone made fun of their hair? You wouldn't want to put a leash on me, would you? Kana paused, tilting her head and staring at the summoner. Kana. Well, it would keep you from running off or getting kidnapped again. And I do like the idea of keeping you where I can see you. Kana. No. Plus I think you'd look pretty hot with a leash. Kana. Lucy yelped, her face flushing as the card mage cackled. But seriously though, said Kana, once her giggling had begun to die down, why exactly is this such a big deal? The main thing that's bothering me is that he summoned himself through my contract without my intervention. He shouldn't be able to do that. Maybe a few of the gold keys could, but not him. He's only a silver key. Then there's the question of why. Lucy moaned, pulling at her hair in frustration. This was actually the second time this had happened. She'd felt Plue appear in the middle of the day yesterday, but he'd returned to the spirit word within a few minutes. She'd been pretty sure she had just imagined it. When you're the gateway for celestial beings between this world and another, you sometimes get weird random feelings about the fluctuations of celestial energies beyond your comprehension. It's normal. But then it had happened again this morning. It had been hours since the gate opened and she needed to find out why it was happening, how it was happening, and possibly how angry she should be over the violation of her contract. Okay, no, she knew she couldn't stay mad at Plue, he was too adorable for that. She'd met marshmallows that were more malicious. But she at least wanted to figure out what was wrong. Well, I'm sure you'll figure it out. But we've searching for like an hour and found Jack squat. Wanna hit up the bars? Lucy sighed and shot her partner the flattest look she could. Kana just grinned. You know what? Fine. Great. Kana grabbed her and dragged her off into a nearby building. At least this one looked like it would have drinks besides booze. Kana ordered herself a full mug of beer and was about to do the same for Lucy, but the summoner was able to intervene and order a glass of lemonade instead. She loved lemonade, it was like an explosion of sour and sweetness on her tongue. Added bonus, she wouldn't end up waking up in the Guildhall in the morning with a splitting headache and a poorly drawn mustache on her face. Alas, the ever-delightful wit of the people she called her friends. So, Kana began, sipping her booze with a grin. Got any ideas to track down your carrot-nosed dog? Well, no, Lucy whined, placing her head against the table. Luckily the bartender had given her a really long bendy straw so she could still suck down her drink even while she was sulking. Well, clearly it is, once again, up to me to save the day. Never fear, my sweet and most helpless princess. Your brilliant and beautiful knight will save the day. Kana declared. Lucy raised a brow. No, seriously, let me see the little guy's key. I got an idea. Lucy shrugged, handing over the key. Kana pulled out a pack of cards and started flicking through them. She pulled one out and placed it against the table, revealing a picture of a fancy compass. Behold, the compass, Kana declared, beaming down at Lucy and raising her hands in the air. And, the compass is a card that guides those who are lost. If we sync it with your key, it might just point towards Plue. Kana explained, placing the key on top of the card and flicking it, causing it to spin wildly as the card began to glow faintly. Are you sure this would work? I don't know, it might. That inspires confidence. Lucy muttered. Dang Lou, you're just smiles and sunshine today aren't you? Kana frowned, staring at Lucy. Sorry. It's just, spirits don't violate contracts unless something's wrong. I like to think of myself as a good summoner, but... Hey, Kana interrupted, laying her hand on top of Lucy's. Don't sweat it Lou, you're a great summoner. We'll find your little dog guy, figure out what's wrong, and fix it. No problem. The key came to a sudden stop, quivering as it pointed out the window. And there we go. You're sure this is pointing to Plue? Either him or north. Let's find out. Kana threw some jewels on the table, grabbed Lucy and dragged her away. The pointing key led them on quite a twisting journey. Since neither of them could actually fly, they had to take dozens of detours around buildings, the key spinning resolutely whenever they took a turn. Eventually they left the main streets and entered a city park. It was oddly empty considering it was midday and the trees were providing a cool relief to the sun's rays. Hey, said Lucy as they turned another corner. There he is. Lucy could see the spirit sitting on a picnic table. There was a man sitting at the table as well, shoulders hunched, with his back to them. Wait, Kana blinked. I think that's Loke. I didn't recognize him for a moment without his harem of girls. What's he doing with Plue? No idea, let's ask. Hey Lo, Lucy slapped her hand over the card mage's mouth, yanking her back behind the corner before Loke could notice. MMMFGH? Kana asked, raising a brow at Lucy. Sorry, it's just, don't you think this is incredibly suspicious? What the heck is Loke doing with my spirit? I'm positive he's not a summoner. Lucy stuck her head back around the corner spying on the strange pair. Plue was waving his arms wildly in the air at Loke, while the mage in question just had his shoulders hunched. Is Loke talking to Plue? I wish we could hear what he was saying. Do my ears deceive me Lou? Kana asked, smirking as she pulled Lucy's hand off her mouth. Are you suggesting we eavesdrop on a fellow guild member's private conversation? No, it's not like that. Calm down, I never said I was against it. Kana smiled, holding up a card with a picture of a faceless figure with their ear pressed to a door. Behold, the gossip. I use this one all the time when I'm bored. Kana held the card around the corner. It started glowing faintly and suddenly they could hear Loki's voice as though he was standing right next to them. Listen, Nikora, you can't just come out on your own like this. What will your summoner think? Poon. Of course she's going to notice. It would be a very poor summoner who didn't, and Lucy is anything but a poor summoner. Poon. Look, why are you even here? What are you hoping to accomplish? Poon. You know as well as I do that nothing can be done. The verdict was final. Poon. There is no appeal, and even if there was I wouldn't want one. Pooh. No. Go home. So this is what this feels like from the other end. Fine, stay here, you won't be able to stay long on your own anyway. I'm leaving. There was a sound of footsteps and then silence. Poon. Levy peeked around the corner again. Loke was nowhere in sight and Plue was alone, sitting on the table and staring at his little feet. Lucy immediately jogged over, uncaring of the fact that Loke might still be within earshot. Plue. Poon. The spirit looked up and got to his feet, smiling at her and holding his stubby arms out to the summoner. Lucy cooed and swept him up, hugging him tightly. Are you okay Plue? Poon. The spirit nodded. Did I do something wrong? Poon. The spirit shook his head. What were you doing with Loke? Poon. The spirit did a complicated dance that could have meant absolutely anything. Right. I should have seen that one coming. Please don't disappear like that again, you had me worried. He still did actually, he looked exhausted. Some spirits could summon themselves to the material world under their own power but never for very long. Plue was a silver spirit so he didn't have much energy to spare and he'd been in the world for hours. The spirit frowned, before reaching up and patting Lucy's face. With a final quiet poon and burst of starlight, the spirit disappeared. So, Kana began. Now what? I'm not sure, Lucy muttered staring off in the direction Loke had probably gone. The next day, the girls were back in the bar again. They were getting lunch, well, Lucy was. Kana was having her afternoon drink. Lou, if you keep glaring at him like that your face is going to stick like that. It's not a good look for you. I can't help it. Just look at him. Loke was sitting at a far table, his horde of girls unusually absent. He looked contemplative, merely picking at the food on his plate with no real drive. Something's up between my spirits and him, and I want to know what. I'm telling you. Kana laid a hand on her shoulder. Let's just go ask him. I've never known Loke to refuse a pretty girl anything, well, except marriage, but that doesn't count. Not with how many times he gets asked. But, no buts. You're overthinking this. Let's just go see him. Kana grabbed Lucy and dragged away from the bar. Look, can you stop dragging me around? Lucy whined. I have legs of my own. They're awesome and function perfectly. Whatever you say, Lou. Kana replied. Loke looked up when they got close, a tired frown wiping off his face to be replaced with an equally tired smile. Why hello there, Kana. You are looking especially fine today. As are you, Loke blanched when he noticed Lucy. He then made a valiant attempt to duck underneath the table and run away at the same time, while trying not to look like he was doing either. Instead, he slammed his side into the table with a painful thud that sent him sprawling. Before either of the girls could react, he was back on his feet and hobbling away. Well, it was nice talking to you too. But I'm afraid I just remembered I have a date to get to. I'd love to stay and chat, but the lady in question is very impatient and I'd hate to keep her waiting. He called back. The girls blinked, staring at the retreating mage. Damn, Lou, what did you do to him? Excuse me, Lucy squawked. I've never seen the guy willingly walk away from a pretty girl, let alone two drop-dead knockouts like us. I've literally never spoken to him since the time we first met. If you say so. 1 week later, Lucy sighed, pressing her face flat against the bar. Idly listening to Goku chat to Levi about some new technique he developed, she tried to focus on her own problem. Something was wrong with one of her spirits. She didn't know what. She didn't know if it was fixed or not. All she knew was that whatever it was, it involved Loke. She knew she could figure this out, she was just missing some key detail. But try as she might, she couldn't corner Loke long enough to get him to talk to her. She had a whip, maybe if she tied him up and... Hey, a voice interrupted her musings. She glanced up to see Gray looking more disheveled than usual. Something wrong, Gray? Kana asked, nursing her tankard as per usual. You bet there's something wrong. Loki's quit fairy tale. That got everyone's attention in a hurry. What? Natsu roared. He can't quit. You can't quit fairy tale. It's not allowed. It's not. Goku asked, looking up from his sandwich. That's like saying he doesn't want to be our friend anymore. Natsu roared, his hair igniting as he slammed his fists against the table. Come on, Happy. Let's go find him and beat some friendship back into him. They watched Natsu storm off with Gray close on his heels. But why would Loke just leave? Levi was looking at Kana in askance. The card mage shrugged. I don't know, maybe Lou scared him off. Really? What did she do to him? I didn't do anything. Lucy squawked. This isn't my fault. I was kidding, Lou. Just trying to lighten the tension. But seriously, Kana frowned. I don't know why Loke would just leave. It's not like him. It's not like the guild was some girl he was dating. Well, maybe it has something to do with Loke not being human. Goku commented, taking another bite out of his sandwich. Maybe. Lucy sighed, then paused. As one, the fairies turned to look at Goku. The martial artist felt everyone's eyes on him and paused mid-bite. What? Goku? Levi said, speaking slowly as if to make sure she wouldn't be misunderstood. Could you elaborate on that statement? What? About Loke not being human? Did none of you know? He asked, blinking each of them in turn. No. Why would you even say he isn't? Because he's not. At least, he doesn't feel human. What do you mean? Well, you know how I can sense energy. His magic doesn't feel human. It's not obvious, not at first. But when I sense his magic right next to everyone else's, it's kind of hard not to notice. Goku explained, looking utterly bemused by their surprise. And it never occurred to you to mention this? Kana demanded. It sounds like the kind of thing we might want to talk about. Well, no. I mean, I'm not human and we never really talk about that. Goku. Levi sighed. Not human. Lucy mumbled, lost in thought. The hamster in her brain starting to work double time to line up the facts. Loke avoided her. The only thing that was unique about her, as far as she could tell, was being a celestial summoner. He was acquainted with celestial spirits in such a way that her spirits would seek him out. He wasn't human. Oh, no way. Goku, can you help me find Loke? Probably. Why? I'll explain when we find him. Or we close. Lucy demanded. At the moment, Lucy and Goku were sitting on Nimbus, zooming away from Magnolia. Should be. He's gotten pretty far away, but Nimbus will get us there. Fields of grass and trees zipped past beneath them, giving way to another town. As they passed above the buildings, Goku directed his magic cloud downward. stopping in the middle of a stone path that jutted out past a waterfall. Lucy could see their quarry at the end of the path, standing before what looked like a ludicrously fancy tombstone. Loke. The figure jerked, half turning as they approached. He looked pretty tired. Oh, it's you two. What's up, guys? Okay, forget tired. Lucy had never seen someone who looked so exhausted. Loke looked like he had literally been carrying the weight of the world on his back and had finally put it down, but still couldn't bring himself to sleep. What's up with us? What's up with you? You know you can't just quit Fairy Tail, Loke. Loke of Fairy Tail, Loke mused, shaking his head weakly. Someone who never really existed. You're a celestial spirit, aren't you, Loke? Lucy asked quietly. Loke nodded. Huh, Goku said. Neat. But what are you doing? Lucy demanded. Where's your summoner? Loke sighed once more, pulling off his shades and looking at them with eyes that were very nearly done with the world. And told them. He told them a tale of two spirits, the lion and the ram. He told them of promises made and promises broken. He told them of lines drawn in the sand, of a clash of wills between spirit and summoner. He told them of forgiveness that came too late and of the star that was cast from the heavens. Which brings us here. Loke finished. I've lasted far longer than anyone could have expected. But it's almost over. And that's it. Lucy demanded. You're just going to die. There is nothing left for me to say. Don't worry, I've got plenty. For starters, your punishment was a load of crap. What? You didn't kill Karen. She got herself killed. If I hadn't been blocking her summons, you were, but she could have easily fixed that by agreeing to your terms. It was literally that simple. She refused, went on a dangerous mission when she was powerless and died. That's her fault, not yours. I agree. Goku commented. You didn't kill her. And what would you know about it? Loke snapped. I killed my grandfather. Loki's eyes snapped to him, some of the exhaustion in him leaving as he gaped. I didn't mean to. For years I thought a wandering monster killed him. It was actually a week ago that I found out it had actually been me. I transformed into a monster under the full moon and beat him into pulp. When I woke up, he was literally flattened inside of a giant footprint. Goku sighed, closing his eyes. Want to know what's worse? Goku asked, opening his eyes and staring Loke dead in the eye. The spirit was motionless, unable to look away as Goku continued. He let me do it. He tried to stop me from going on a rampage and he could have done it. My grandpa was the strongest fighter in the world. If he had really tried, he could have killed me. But he didn't. He chose to die rather than hurt me. Goku took a step forward. I met Grandpa's ghost, you know. Goku whispered. He never even hinted at how he really died. He didn't want me to know, because he forgave me. He knew I would never have hurt him on purpose. And I'm going to make sure that I never let anything like that happen again. To do anything less would be an insult to his memory. Goku reached out and put his hands on Loki's shoulders, and gave smile. It looked brittle. So, don't talk to me about how you killed Karen. I know what it means to kill someone by accident, and you didn't. She killed herself. It's not your fault. Loke stared the martial artist in the eye until the spirit was forced to away. Loke gulped. Even if that's true, the simple fact is that it doesn't matter. I can't return to the spirit world. Oh, we'll see about that. Lucy stomped forward, shoving Goku aside and grabbing onto Loke. Lucy. What are you doing? I'm embracing what it means to be a fairy tale mage. If it's not working, force it. You're barred from the spirit world. Who cares? I'll rip it open and send you back. If anyone over their objects, you send them to talk with us. Loki's face paled as Lucis magic gathered around them. Open. Gate of the Lion. Starlight burst into existence around them, whipping through the air like electricity. Lucy, stop. You don't know what you're doing. Open. Gate of the Lion. A second surge whipped through the air around them. It's too late, Lucy. You're more likely to throw yourself into the spirit world than me. Stop trying to change the law. The law is wrong. Open. Gate of the Lion. Suddenly, everything jolted. Lucy paused, looking around. Something felt different. With a thundering boom, the water all around them surged into the air, gathering in an enormous whirlpool. What little color Loki's face had left drained away. And no. He muttered. No. She didn't mean it. With a flash of light, an enormous figure appeared in the middle of the water basin. White and yellow armor, shrouded in a cape of starry skies, loomed over them. From its face a pair of burning stars stared down on them. Your Majesty. Loke whispered, bowing his head. Hello, old friend. It has been 3 years since I saw you last. Since you broke celestial law. I know. You know I have accepted your judgment. Loke stammered, head bowed. Well, I haven't, Lucy. Stop. Human girl. You are aware of the celestial laws. My old friend played a part in the death of his summoner. He faces justice for his crime. He's been stuck in the human realm for 3 years. Every day he's had to feel himself wither away. I have already declared my judgment. My old friend knows what he has done. He didn't kill Karen. She killed herself with her own stubbornness and pride. And now, Loki's dying. It's not him that's doing it. It's you. You're being stubborn and, unlike Karen, someone else, your old friend, is paying the price. Lucy, you really shouldn't speak to him like that. Loke protested weakly. Why do you fight so hard for his sake? The Spirit King asked, a single brow raised in askance. I had to watch my friends put their life on the lines for my sake. I was forced to watch them bleed for my sake over and over again. I swore I would not let that happen again without giving my all to change it. So know what? Forget you. Why don't you go back home and tell Ares why you are going to let Loke die? While you do that, I'm going to send Loke home, regardless of what you have to say. Lucy grabbed Loke once more. Pooling all of her remaining magic, she shoved it into the spirit with one final scream. Open. Gate of the Lion. Loke felt something lurch, as though a door within him had cracked open. He felt a soothing wave of energy flow through him, easing his aching body in a way he thought he would never feel again. Home. Loke couldn't believe it. Lucy was actually forcing open a gate closed by the king himself. He didn't know what to think. Lucy gasped, her magical energy running out as she collapsed. Loke grabbed her before she could hit the ground even as he felt the door within him slam shut. And no, Lucy whispered, reaching towards Loki's face, I can do it. Loke felt his heart wrench at the sight. Just enough. Loki's eyes snapped to the king. My old friend, I have known you since your star first lit the heavens. I admit it pains me to see you reduced to this state. To see someone, a human girl who has never known you, to fight so hard to save you from what I am doing to you, it makes me question myself. Question my law. Loke gaped. Yes, I hereby grant you reprieve from the punishment. An exception to my law. My old friend, your star shall shine on yet. But, if you still seek penance, then so be it. I declare that you must serve that human girl you hold, from now until she departs this mortal realm. So I have spoken, so it shall be. With a flash of light the King of Spirits disappeared. Loke could feel the king's decree flowing through him. He felt the door within him open once more. Not forced, but softly, beckoning him home. Loke blinked back the sudden wetness in his eyes, as he stared at the girl in his arms. She smiled weakly back at him. Well, what are you waiting for? I'll see you again soon. Thank you, Loke murmured, setting the girl gently on the ground. He nodded towards Goku, and stepped through the door. And thus, the star returned to the heavens once more. Thanks for listening. If you want the next part of this video, be sure to like, subscribe and comment and hit that bell notification. See you next time.